In 5 minutes, I'm going to explain to you Amazon FBA for Dummies. This is for anyone. If you're working a 9 to 5, if you're at college, if you're unemployed, and most of you who've probably come from my TikTok lives, my TikTok videos, or if you've just found my YouTube channel and you just want to know what actually is Amazon FBA. So I'm going to break it down nice and fast, nice and simple, and this is everything you need to know how you can get started and how you can start making some money. So what actually is Amazon FBA? Now, FBA stands for Fulfillment by Amazon, because what we are doing is we are buying products on discount and we are selling them for hire on Amazon, and we are using Amazon to deliver it to the customers, deal with customer service, and handle returns and so forth. Now, within FBA, there are actually different business models. So the point that I made about reselling items, the factor is, where do we get the items from and where do we get it cheap enough? So there's 3 sort of different routes to get cheap items, okay? Now, number 1 is called arbitrage, okay? Now, this route to find items and resell items is by going to retail stores. So, for example, going into Smith's Superstore, going into TK Maxx and finding products on discount. Or it's through online arbitrage, which is buying products online through stores like Argos or Superdrug, finding them cheap enough online to then resell them back on Amazon. So those are the 2 models within arbitrage. Then we have wholesale, which is where we get the items from brands directly. So for example, if we look at Pringles over here, we would work with Pringles directly, get the items cheap enough from them in bulk, resell them back on Amazon. Or we go to a distributor, so something like what we're in. They don't own Pringles, but they distribute in bulk Pringles. We buy the products from them in bulk again, and we resell them back on Amazon. Now, the final method is private label, which is where we create our own brand and then we resell that back on Amazon. However, this does require quite a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot more risk. So I always recommend starting with the first 2. Now, let's talk a bit about how much money you need to start. So in regards to money, you can either start with about £300 to £500 and do the arbitrage models, or you can start with a bigger budget like 1.5k, get taught and do some learning and so forth, and start with maybe wholesale and arbitrage also, okay? It really does depend on your budget. If you've got between £300 to £500, I'm going to pop a video up here and you can actually watch this video because it will give you all the information you need with your budget. However, if you do have more capital, so let's say 1.5k plus, your best bet is actually learning everything through like a mentor or through like a guide. And what you can do is you can then skip all the rubbish on YouTube and you can end up being able to see a bit more success earlier because you've got more money to play with and you can choose which model you want to do. So let's finish off with some common myths about Amazon FBA. The first one is that it is saturated. Well, I would argue that it might be a bit competitive as a beginner, especially if you're learning off YouTube. Hence why I say go and get learning, go and get mentored. You will then be able to get access to information not everyone can receive. However, if you do try hard enough, you will be able to get rid of this saturation thing. Every business model is saturated apparently in 2025, so ignore what people say. It's mostly just people who fail. The second myth is that you need to run advertisements or you need to buy from China. You don't need to do that. So with arbitrage and wholesale, you don't need to buy from China and you don't need to run advertisement. You're already selling branded items that already sell on Amazon. So these are the big myths that people have, and this is the reality of it. So I hope this video told you everything that you need to figure out what Amazon FBA actually is. Now, the next step for you, again, if you have between like £300 to £500 or maybe less than 1,000, go and watch my free Amazon FBA course, which goes through how you can go from start to finish, making at least your first £1,000 and what everything that you need to do. If you've got more money, let's say 1.5k plus, and you're eager to get started, you just want to jump straight in, fill out the form below, which is my link towards my mentoring options. And all we will do is we will get you to where you need to get to way quicker and go through everything you need to know to get to your first 6 figures with Amazon FBA. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.